Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Coffee. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I am your host, Justin D. Morgan, and I fell for a trap. I bought something at the thrift store yesterday, and I decided that, before I start streaming, I should try to sign it into PlayStation Network. I forgot how long it's been since I logged into my PlayStation Network account, and I should have known it was going to make me change my password and then go through a whole bunch of other questions. So anyways, at least now, my new-to-me PlayStation 4, yes, I just finally bought a PlayStation 4, is hopefully downloading updates for the one game I own for it that I bought when the GameStop closest to me closed, and they were at like 75% off. Final stuff, final weekend, everything must go, and I bought a whole bunch of stuff that was just disc and sleeve, really cheap, and one of those games happened to be a PlayStation 4 game, so I can finally see if the game works, and if not, well, there was no returns because it was a closing GameStop. Why was the GameStop closing? Well, this is the hilarious part. The owner of the building the GameStop was in thought that if he had all of the tenants kicked out in the row of shops, that he had this one big tenant that was going to come in and rent everything for a really huge sum of money. So he terminated the leases of the dry cleaners, the GameStop, a Panera Bread, a quite busy Panera Bread. And then that other person that was going to rent this whole thing backed out. So, yeah. Now he's got an empty former Panera Bread. There's a crumble cookie that is where the GameStop used to be, and then there's one of those salons where I think the stylist rents a booth, one of those. But yeah, there's a perfectly good former Panera Bread that sits empty to this day because this developer got ideas of grandiose, and yeah, how's that going for you, Mr. Developer? Yeah, it was a quite busy Panera, and I was sad to see it go, and it went only because the guy that owned those buildings wanted more money, and then someone pulled out. Callan says, he who acts before getting a signed contract, before getting a contract signed loses, yes. Yeah, that was probably yeah. Anyways. Now, was that GameStop going to close? Quite possibly, because we all know how GameStop's been doing all these years. But anyways, I scored a couple games, and one of them was a PlayStation 4 game. I was at a thrift shop, finally bit the bullet on one. Kind of thought that maybe I should sign it into PlayStation Network just to make sure I don't see that the console got the ban hammer. And I signed in without any issues other than it forced me to change my password and then answer umpteen bazillion questions to update my profile. Oh yay, and then I'm going to have to probably relog into my PlayStation 3. What fun, what joy. Anyways, let's see what fun and joy we have in the chat. We have Jack68K. Hi, Jack. Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. Callan. Hi, Callan. Yep, we have GeoHam. Hi, GeoHam. We have Joe's Computer Museum. Hi, Joe. We have Jack saying, the problem is the jump scare when the music suddenly starts when not paying attention to the screen. Although Justin's intro isn't as jump scare as some. Yeah, Yeah, there are some intros that are like really jump scare. Ah, we have got 1-bit fever dreams. Hi, 1-bit. Thomas says he shops on eBay to be brave. Yes. Jack saying maybe tonight's stream is just the chat. Nope, I fell for logging in a PlayStation 4 onto PlayStation Network. And then, of course, I booted Windows and it decided to, like, not load half the software for a minute or two. Which I can't start OBS until it loads that software because some of that software is the drivers for a capture card. And if you start OBS without that loaded, then it really screws up all your scenes. And yeah, I'm still running Windows 10 on this computer because it's an old HP Z440. It doesn't support Windows 11. I'm not going to do the cheats to get Windows 11 to run because I've been burned by that in the past. I do have the extended support on it, so I will get security updates for the next year. And by then, I'll have replaced it with a brand new, or well, a newer Windows 11 compatible computer. That's how this is going. So yeah, this computer's still running Windows 10. I've got a laptop that's still running Windows 10. It's also on extended updates. So I'm prepared for the sadness later this week. In fact, that tomorrow, I think, is when support ends. Last day of normal support for Windows 10. Yeah, that laptop also doesn't have a new enough processor. All my other Windows computers are running Windows 11, so they're good. They were compatible. Anyways, let's see here. Who else do we have? We have, yep, the Masm box is still there. Sadmex says, ooh, ancient hard drives, but also leasing drama, yes. Jack's asking, is it my internet or Justin's? Looks like my internet's working. Oh, looks like I did drop a few frames. Oh, we have Everything is Broken Garage. Hi, Ryan. Long time no see. We have Jesse, I8386SX. Hi, Jesse. Jesse says, sadness begins tomorrow, excluding LTSC builds. Sadmax says, Justin, trying to sign in to a PS3, so that made me go, well, that was needlessly long, tedious, and complex. Yeah, I think Sony makes it that way. Anyways, yeah, I finally, I think, completely buried my hatchet over the great PlayStation incident of 2011, where I had Portal 3 pre-ordered in hand, couldn't return it, and PlayStation Network was down because of hackers, and I had to wait, I think, nearly 6 weeks to play Portal 2 because I picked PlayStation, and I guess I picked poorly. Urgh. Yeah, I finally bought another PlayStation. Yes, that PlayStation 3. I still have that PlayStation 3. It still has Portal 2 on it. I have the disc somewhere. Yeah, it took me that long to buy another PlayStation. Not that Microsoft's not been doing some kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Sadmax says PlayStation Network probably wouldn't have been as bad back in the day, but I only got mine last year. So yeah, I'm afraid I think Sony is a bit more heavy-handed in trying to get you to buy PlayStation Plus. So yeah. I may not like the PlayStation 4 as much as the Xbox One, but I've had reliability problems with my Xbox Ones. So I'm going to give PlayStation 4 a go. Plus, there's a couple platform exclusives that came out near the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle that I want to play. Final Fantasy VII Remake, like the Final Fantasy Collection, a couple other remakes and remasters, so I finally broke down and got one. Now you see why I got a PlayStation 4. Jesse says, I don't do modern gaming. Well, PlayStation 4 is as modern as I'm going to get because I don't want a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series or whatever ones have liquid metal in them. I've watched enough of the repair videos that I don't think I want that negativity in my life. seems like planned obsolescence when you get liquid metal under all the chips and short things. And did it really need liquid metal? Or is that just a way to get more money out of us after 2 to 3 years? You decide. Anyways. Jesse says, unless you count PlayStation 2. Mega says, I always thought liquid metal was a tech scam. We playing with sawmills. Oh, hi, newer Ham Radio Elmer. No, we are going to be playing with old spinning rust. And Jesse, I have a PlayStation 2. It's not my original PlayStation 2. It's one I bought from a friend. I think after I'd had a PlayStation 3 for a while. And I think he was... Oh, yeah, I think he was moving and didn't want to try to take it with him. And he asked if I wanted to buy it. And I think he sold it to me for like $20 or something. Kind of like one of those... It was like... It would have been silly not to have. Because it was in really... It's in... And still is in really good shape. Sadmax says, like, I still feel like mid-late 2010s AAA titles are current mentally. So, yeah. I quite honestly... There are a lot of those older games that I think that they're great, and you can't make a great thing better. But, well, I kind of... Oh, I guess it's a twofold reason. I guess there were a couple PlayStation 4 games I was really wanting to play. I was just waiting for the consoles to come down in price enough to what I wanted to pay. If anyone's wondering, I paid $80 for a PlayStation 4 Slim, and it had 2 controllers. Although one of the controllers wasn't a PlayStation 4 controller, but who's counting? It was a DualShock 2 controller, so it'll go great with my PlayStation 2. So yeah, I had one PlayStation 4 controller and one DualShock 2 controller, so yeah, that will totally go with my PlayStation 2. And it's actually a Sony DualShock 2, so... The thrift shop had $100 on it, and he saw me looking at it, and he's like, I think I can do a little better. So I asked him, well, what's your best price on it? He said $80, and that was actually what I wanted to offer, so that kind of was like, yep, that's about what I wanted to pay. So anyways, it's probably upstairs downloading software updates. And, oh yeah, and I picked up an NES game while I was at the thrift shop for $4. It was an early rare title. And now let's see if anyone, gets confused by that statement, or if they realize that once I figured out who actually published the game, I was like, yeah, actually, I think I do want that. And I guess now, yeah, no, the game itself, I don't know how rare it particularly is. It was only $4. The publisher, though, was Rareware. But yeah, very interesting. It's not labeled on the label as being published by Rare. So when I saw it there in the shelf like 2 or 3 months ago, I didn't realize it was published by Rare. I didn't even look up the title, but after I'd noticed, because they post pictures on their Facebook page of what they have, after noticing that cartridge was still in the glass case, I pulled up the game online to figure out if it was any good. It's the game Pinbot for NES, and I noticed that it got good reviews back in the day, and it was $4, and I realized it was published by Rare, and I was like, oh, well then it probably is a fairly decent title. So what we have here is we got the XT board that I had out last week the one I worked on Dave's stream. And I just realized I forgot to swap controller cards. So I've got the IBM 20 megabyte hard drive on the bench. So this is not the card I want to use with the IBM 20 megabyte hard drive. Callan's asking, based on their pinball pinbot. Yeah, it was based on a it was based on an actual pinball machine. I don't know why I want to say Williams. But the game is based off of an actual mechanical pinball game. This is the card I wanted to use with... Nope, that's the wrong card. Hold, please. No, this is the card I want to use with this drive. The WDXT Gen card. And the reason is, this card does not support more than 8 heads. And the second hard drive, or one of the other hard drives that we want to... yeah, Williams. Yep, okay. Ham Radio Elmer's pointing out that it was Williams, so I did remember correctly. So, the card that I had originally connected this drive to see if it would work supports up to 16 heads. One of the drives I need to low-level format has 9 heads. So we're going to use this card for this IBM drive. Because we don't need that many heads to be supported to format this drive. I think to plug the drive in, I think that is correct, and this drive should support manually configuring the geometry. So we'll go plug this in and make sure everything's working before I bother to find a DOS disk that we can boot into DOS. So unless someone knows how to run the BIOS on the drive card from BASIC, seemingly you should be able to call a ROM routine from BASIC, but I couldn't figure it out when I tried to search. All right. Oh, it does help when you turn on your smart outlets. There we go. And there we go. There's our capture input. There was no drama because... Oh, hi Nicholas, welcome. Oops, wrong account. Oh, it's Hardware Hacker. Hi, Hardware Hacker. I think you are a little bit late, although I did get started a little late. You know, I do not believe this hard drive. That was weird. I tapped the hard drive and then it decided it was going to spin up. Yes, Hardware Hacker is just in time. Error. Let's try this. Let's try rebooting. And we have David's projects. Hi, David's projects. Oh yeah, we are spinning. I think I have filters turned on. which I will turn off. We didn't have any regrets tonight. There we go. We have IBM Basic. And the hard drive spun up. And now we need to boot into... Unless anyone by chance knows how you can call a ROM program from BASIC. I mean, I would have to think that you can... Surely you can call the low-level... Because otherwise I gotta boot into... Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. There might be a way to do it. 10 def segment equals 20 def user equals 30 print user. Oh, actually, there might be. Here we go. Let's try this. Surely, Jack says, surely MFM drives are a regret. They might be. Call... Oh, Joe says, call ampersand H... Alright, let me pull up the manual for the card, because I don't remember what address we have to call. All of these... Fancy schmancy, this is a Winchester disk controller. Yeah, all these low-level cards, the low-level format utilities, usually in the ROM. And... here we go. So from debug... If I was running debug, then I would need to type G equals C800:5 and press carriage return. So I believe, given what Joe's suggesting, call ampersand... Oh, hold on. I'm using a German keyboard, so, but this US key mapping on the computer, so therefore brain hurts. H C8 Oh. Alright, let's try the basic program I found on Vogons. It was 10 def seg equals, remember, German keyboard that has different layout, ampersand HC800 20 def USR0 equals 5. 30 print whoop erg well, that sure didn't seem to do anything. Well, that was certainly, you know, I think that code is incomplete. I think that code is very incomplete because... Oh! No, coffee goal. No, actually, we hid the goal on the... I think I hid the goal because it was blocking text on the other day. Yeah, there's always a coffee goal. But I think I hid it because it was in front of something. Oh, yeah. And thank you, Hardware Hacker, for the $1.99 super chat. Eep. And happy birthday. Yeah, let's see here. Call low level format from IBM Basic. Because that... Yeah, that basic program is missing something, and I believe that's the... It seems like there should be a segment. Yeah, of course, I could run, well, that's a page that has all the addresses on it. Alright, I guess I'm gonna have to go... Alright. Alright, I guess I'm going to have to boot into debug because... Yeah. Jack says, I know AppleSoft Basic. Yeah. Yeah, alright, let me go find a DOS disk here. Let's see here, what versions of DOS shipped on 720K disks? I guess DOS 4? It's not really my most favoritist version of DOS, but it at least shipped on 720K discs. So that means I can put the image on my GoTech and boot it on the XT. So, alright. It's actually probably my least favoritist version of DOS. Oops, that's... I just unplugged something. Alright, I do not know what I just unplugged. Oh, and I may have unplugged something that wasn't plugged in. Okay. Actually, is there no prompt because it's hanging? Oh, sorry about that, hardware hacker. Apparently, I have... Oh, whoa. I have... Oh, sorry about that, hardware hacker. Apparently... No, there is the stream alert. I think BASIC crashed. I think that's why there's no prompt. It didn't show up in the chat or the screen. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But thank you for the $5 coffee tip, hardware hacker. In fact, actually, I have Firefox open, and I didn't even get a notification from Firefox. So maybe their notifications are having trouble, and cross our fingers, maybe it'll just randomly show up late. So you might get a second reaction. Alright, so... Alright, well, let's reboot. I have one idea. Oh. Actually, I think it's a solid lock. Alright, well, I've got DOS, Oh no, it didn't do anything. Yeah, you're right. It just didn't do anything. Which is weird. Oh, wait. Or did I turn off notifications in this Fire... No, I didn't. I have notifications turned on. Thank you, hardware hacker, for the 2 $5 coffee tips. Thank you. I do not know why it didn't notify, but yeah, I just went on to Coffee's website. Thank you. I really need to rig up a way to play the sound effect for when it fails that I can still play the sound manually. That will have to be a later goal. Alright, so let me get DOS 4 disks. Alright. DOS 4 is not my favorite version of DOS. but it at least comes on 720K discs. And I do know the version of the BIOS that I have in this XT motherboard should support booting from a 720K disc. Now, it will not format a 720K disc because the BIOS in the XT has no way of configuring the size of the drive, and therefore it always assumes the drive is a 360K disc when it goes to format it, but it will boot from it. Alright. And to facilitate booting from a floppy disk, I borrowed the DTK Hexa IO Plus card from my XT, one of my other XTs, because it has a floppy controller on it that I know works with the XT. I'm going to plug it into slot 7, and that was me jumping because there's a relay on this hard drive, and it startled me. Alright. At least it decided to spin up right away this time. Carter Hacker says, I need to figure out how to configure it in OBS so I have my goal when I eventually stream. Yeah, actually, I think Coffee's website has a... Oh, that's a non-system disk or disk error. Probably wants that one right there. I think on Coffee's website they tell you how to set it up. And it is possible they... I don't know, I'll have to go look and make sure they haven't changed the directions. But we are booting into DOS. And sure enough, what I read is correct. Oh, there we go. Should take us to a DOS prompt, hopefully. There we go. So let's see here. What is on this DOS disk? Do we have debug? I don't think debug is on this disk. Driver, F disk. Well, we got F disk on this disk. Alright, so debug's not on that disk. Is it on this disk? There it is. Debug. There we go. And the prompt is at the very bottom of the screen. So at the hyphen prompt, we type G equals C800 colon 5. There we go. There we go. Alright, I'm going to hide the coffee goal so that you all can see all the prompts. Alright, we've got the XT Gen Dynamic Formatter Revision 1, Copyright Western Digital Corp. 1987. Current drive is C. Select new drive or return for current. So we want to return. Current interleave is 3. Select new interleave or return for current. All right, we'll keep the current one. Are you dynamically configuring this drive? Yes. All right, now we get to type in wonderful numbers. Oh, hi, Jason. Welcome. I'm trying to low-level format a hard drive. It's not like they just gave you a disk to run. Instead, you had to run debug and type in stuff to make it call the ROM. I tried to do it from BASIC. That doesn't work. One bit says, it's like the file directory spells out big letters in an alien alphabet. All right, so now I get to type in all these wonderful wonderful metrics, and I got to look up the IBM Type 13 hard drive. Because, of course, it's not labeled on the drive. That would be too easy. 20 megabyte drive. So, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly, it is... So, total number of cylinders is 306, because it's 306 cylinders. Head count is 8. This drive has 8 heads. Starting reduced right cylinder. I gotta read the manual because this drive does not have reduced write current, so I don't know what it wants. Alright. Because you have to enter all the numbers. Oh, okay. I think I see from an example what they want. If it doesn't have it, it wants N+1. Write pre-comp cylinder. Now, this drive does have write pre-compensation, and that is 128. I think write pre-compensation has to do with compensating for the fact it's one of the inner cylinders, and I think it actually writes things more compressed, as in like less spacing between transitions, to compensate for the fact that the cylinder is physically smaller. But it's stuff I don't really understand without more reading. Alright. Right pre-comp cylinder. So we got cylinders, 306, 8 heads, no reduced write. Pre-comp is 128. Max correctable error burst. I'm going to use the default of 11. CCB option byte. I'll just pick the default of 5 there. Alright. 306, 8, 128, and it knows it's 17 sectors because it's MFM. Are you virtually configuring the drive? Oh, no. No, I am not virtually configuring the drive. Alright, press yes to begin formatting drive C with interleave 3. Alright, here we go. I have no idea if it's doing anything. The red light on the front's on. I don't hear... I moved the microphone closer to the drive. I'm just going to let you all listen to it, and that way, if we hear kerthunks of bad sectors, we'll hear them together. Jack's asking, what happens if you get these numbers wrong? Alright, if you get the number of cylinders wrong, then you're either going to have less space available, or it's going to possibly physically run into the inner spindle of the drive, or like not be able to step further. If you enter the wrong number of heads, then you're either going to have less space available, or you're going to get errors when it tries to use a head that's not there. Reduced right cylinder. I don't know what happens if you get that wrong. Right pre-comp cylinder, it may not have enough space to put 17 sectors on the cylinder if you get that wrong. Max correctable error burst length. Well, it won't be able to correct as long of an error as if you put in a smaller number of bits. CCB option byte, I have no idea what that's for. Hi, Trina, welcome! We're not running MIM test, but we're running low-level format. And it's so exciting. Sadmax says, all of this is intimidating. Yeah. The fact that you have to call the format thing from BIOS is intimidating. Jack says, so if it can detect all of these error conditions, why can't it just tell you what all the parameters are? That's an excellent question of why they couldn't put it in some ROM on the board. I think it's because the hard drive interface is dumb. I think all the smarts are on the controller card. The hard drive is basically dumb, and it just does what the controller card tells it to do. I don't think there's any intelligence on the drive. I think all the electronics on the drive are basically for moving the heads. Maybe some basic error detection on power-up. Sadmax says, we're not quite that advanced yet, Jack, I don't think. Yeah. Yeah, I think basically the drive is just has no intelligence, and the controller card's where all the intelligence is. And I'm taking it that it's a good thing that we're not hearing clunking noises. Joe says, that's correct. The hard drive is like a big floppy drive. Move head in, move head out. That's about it. Yep. That's a good way of looking at it, Joe. It's like a big floppy drive, and in this case it has 8 heads instead of 2. Which tells me that there's at least 4 cylinders in this drive. Possibly 5. Do you want to format bad tracks? Answer yes or no. I think we do want to format bad tracks. Oh. Oops. There's no bad track list on the drive. System will now restart. Oh, is it done? Did we really just low-level format this drive? Jack says, I'm sort of glad I missed this era of hard drives. Mega says, they should really integrate those drive electronics. A good one, Mega. Jesse says, bad tracks, bad! You're scaring Justin. This head back, we don't shake the drive all about. I forgot when it on that controller card when it asks to format bad tracks, it's asking if you have a bad track list. This drive does not have a bad track list on it. All right, so I am going to install MS-DOS 4 on this drive because that's just easiest to do. That way, we'll F-disk this drive, we'll format it, and then we'll install DOS on it. And that way, at least I know when we're done, we have a good... All right. But I do want to exit setup because we have to F-disk the drive because low-level formatting does not create a partition table. Error reading fixed disk. Oh. Okay, maybe I made a slight mistake when I told it to format bad tracks and then didn't give it anything. So let's go through that process one more time. Current interleave. All right. Yep, interleave 3 is fine. We are dynamically configuring it. All right, so it is 306 8. There's no reduced write as far as I know. Pre-comp is 128, 11, and 5. Whoops. 8, 37, 128. Whoops, did I make a typo? Oh, whoops. All right. Yep, interleave is 3 is fine. Are we dynamically? Yes, we are dynamically configuring. Oh, I see what I did. I answered a question that I did not want to answer in the affirmative. 306 8, 307, 128, 11, 5. Are you virtually configuring the drive? No. And yes, we want to format it again. And then when it asks to format bad tracks, I want to say no. Jack says, put directory on bad tracks. Yes. And Jesse says, the only thing that was fixed was its wagon. Tartar hacker, oh my, you and DOS 4 isn't too modern for it, lol. I hope not. Jesse says, I'm glad I'm not the only one using questionable versions of DOS. Well, at least I'm using DOS 4.01. Mike's Future Retro, hi Mike, is asking, who's going to VCF Swap this Saturday in New Jersey? I sadly will not be there. Jesse says 4.01 is the one I used on 80s hardware. Oh, yeah. I presume we're formatting this drive. Okay, I very gently put my hand on the drive because I can't hear it. But it is definitely stepping. It's definitely stepping the head, so it is doing something. No, the low-level format does not put a file system on it. No, you got to then run fdisk and format. Low-level format only puts down a, I think like the low-level format on the drive, like I guess all the inner, I don't know. It's hard to, it's like hard to explain because format only overlays the file system on top of the low-level format. Yeah, as SadMax says, if I understand correctly, it doesn't even partition the disk. It just defines the edges of it. Yes, I think that would be a good way of explaining it. One bit says, there's also a lowest level format. It wrings the crap out of the superstring at the Planck scales. Guess what I really meant to ask was if the command low-level formats and initializes the partition table. Now, this is only laying down the geometry of the drive. Then you have to run fdisk to create the master boot record. And then you have to run format to lay down the partition, the directory structure. Fortunately, do I want to format bad tracks? No. All right. Yeah, fortunately, when we got to IDE drives for integrated device electronics, they come low-level formatted. So you never have to run a low-level format on them. In fact, I think if you run a low-level format on them, it can damage them because the low-level format utilities out there usually don't know about IDE drives. Yeah, Mike, I think at the swap meets, if you want to have a "Hi, my name is" sticker, then you can apply a "Hi, my name is" sticker before you go. Now, I do know if it's a system swap, the system source swap meet, and you're then also going to go into the museum, I think they usually print name tags for people that have RSVP'd, but yeah, I think the VCF event, if you want to wear a name tag, then you'll have to bring your own name tag. Yeah, as Mega says, the cylinders, heads, etc. are completely virtual with IDE. Yes, that is very correct. One bit says, I wonder if one person got my super hardcore physics joke. I sort of got it. That was definitely a hardcore physics joke. I do not believe this drive is happy. Yep. Okay, we definitely don't have a C drive. Yep, error reading fixed disk. This is actually kind of one of those where maybe. All right, let me see if by chance Oh, let me guess. Let me guess. That is a, Oh, there we go. We're gonna run SpinRite, and let's see if SpinRite can help us out. And 1bit says, "Aww." We need more memory. Oh. Let me go swipe some more memory. Alright. Guess I'll have to power the PC down. Let me go swipe a memory card from some unsuspecting XT. I think that is a memory card right there. Yes, and I believe this is another 256K of RAM. And it should be configured correctly for a board like this. Alright, so we will go ahead and we will... There we go. Oh, interesting. Did I... Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I must have... Okay, so I have recapped this card. Did I... Did I not? Oh. Oh. Hold on. Why is... Oh. Oh, I must not be inserting the card all the way. Oh, there we go. Now that felt... There, that felt like that went in. No. Alright. Hold, please. The power supply doesn't want to turn on. Alright, let's unplug the hard drive. No. Hard drive's unplugged. Okay, well, unplug the power supply for 30 seconds. Something's... Yeah, the... Huh. Yeah, the power supply is... Alright, so let's go back. Let me remove the memory card. Make sure these cards are seated. I don't think it powered up. No. Well, it's an XT power supply, or an ATX power supply, so... Yeah, something on this board... Alright, so let me remove the low level, or the MFM card. Alright, I'll plug the GoTech back in. I unplugged the MFM card. No. Alright, so I'll unplug the display card, which I did recap. Alright. No. Alright, I will remove the floppy controller, which is about the only thing left that it could be. Oh, at this point, how would I know if it's on? There's no... Yeah, I don't know. My XT board is... Huh. So I recapped this board. And, alright. Alright, well, let's try this. Okay. So... I'm going to plug the MFM drive back in, because it'll draw enough current that... Alright, it should load the power supply. So, motherboard's unplugged. No. Well, I think my ATX power supply has... My smart outlet is seemingly indicating that it's still on. Alright, well, this is an easy one to check. Oh. Alright. Yes. I still have AC voltage coming out of the line cord. So the smart outlet is not the weakest link. It would appear as if my ATX power supply is no longer functioning because I guess the one way to know for sure is to plug it into a... If I had an ATX power supply tester, but I don't. Alright. This complicates things. Alright. Let me go see if I can find a... if this power supply has a fuse, it's... Alright, I guess I can pop the cover off. Safety note, you don't want to disassemble a power supply so soon after having it plugged in. It can retain a charge for a little while. So, trained professionals only. I'm going to inspect it to see if there's a fuse inside of it, but I did not hear or smell anything that would have led me to believe the power supply failed, but it is quite clearly no longer turning on. I mean, maybe if the power supply was failing, that could explain why I was having trouble formatting the drive. Alright, so... Alright, I am looking inside the power supply now. I do not see a fuse. I mean, there probably is a fuse, but I don't see it. I don't see anything that looks amiss, but... Hardware Hacker's asking, how's the progress on the new workbench? I am still working on plans for the workbench. That is going slower than I wished. Yeah, no problem for the update. Yeah, when I have plans that I am happy to share, then I will share them as a channel, like a channel supporter exclusive. I don't have anything that's ready to share yet. Yeah, I don't see anything, like, apparently wrong with this power supply, other than the brand names of the caps are underwhelming. Ching X. I don't think this brand claims to use Japanese caps, and that I don't think is a Japanese cap. And the other ones are those, they look like that greenish color that's always a cheap cap. But the main cap is a Ching X. At least it's a 420 volt rated cap. I'll at least give them that. Yeah, I'm looking in this power supply. I don't see any immediately apparent faults. I'll probably have to disassemble it further to repair, and that's not tonight's stream. I guess it says Chong, oh, is it Chong X? I might have misread it. No, they are Ching X. CHENGX. But Mega says Chong X is known to be really bad, according to Mr. Cardamon on TRW Discord. Hi, Stian, welcome. Mega says probably a Chong X clone, as there are many of those. So apparently, I have probably a bad clone of a bad cap. Great. Alright, well, we are not going to be repairing this power supply tonight. Or probably at all. I never really liked it, but anyways, if anyone was wondering what power supply this is, yeah, it wasn't like a really great brand. I will probably just replace this power supply with another one. Yeah, so I was trying to run SpinRite because the low-level format did not work twice. I was going to see what SpinRite said about the drive. SpinRite told me it needed more RAM. So I went and grabbed a memory card to put in the motherboard, and it would not power up again, and it would appear as if, as far as I can tell, the power supply is probably to blame. And now I'm just trying to put the thing back together enough so that I can... Yeah, I don't recall actually buying this power supply. I think it was in a pre-built that I bought. So, yeah, alright, so at least I guess Thursday we'll be back on the 2SI, because this could be a problem of the power supply. Yeah, Jesse was saying that the Apevia power supplies were garbage power supply, dog water support. Dog water meaning extremely poor quality, yes. Jesse says, my experience with them is they came in pre-builds. Yeah, I think in like 2020 or early 2021, I bought a pre-built because that was about the only choice I had. And the motherboard was fine in the pre-built. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was okay. The processor was fine. It was a Ryzen 5 3600. Again, nothing fancy. It was okay. The video card was... I don't remember what the video card was. Processing. Did it even have a video card? I don't know. Yeah. No, it wasn't a Trident card. It was a... Was it maybe an RX 580? It seems too fancy for that computer. I don't know. I don't think it was a current gen computer, a current gen card at the time. Maybe it was an RX 580. Jesse says, my final straw with them was an ITX power supply. They thought jumping 2 wires to turn it on was adequate. It had a broken wire. Oh. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I probably will not try to repair this power supply. It's really not worth trying to repair. I'll just replace it. I'll put it on my list of things that need to be replaced sooner rather than later, because it's the power supply I usually use for testing unknown boards, because modern power supplies do at least have short current protection. Short circuit protection. Alright, let me go grab a power supply. Alright. That was really not a good choice. That is... Okay, I had to pull an AT power supply out of a computer. Luckily, it was only temporarily installed. But Alright. Alright, so black wires in the middle. I think this power supply is rated sufficiently for this hard drive. I mean, it theoretically should be. All right. I mean, yes, it's a physically large hard drive, but it's not like the motors take infinite power. Okay, floppy controller. The RAM card. The video card. And the drive controller card. All right. Oh, that relay on that hard drive. Very clicky. Oh, monitor. There we go. I don't know how much juice this hard drive needs, but I think it's rated for like 2 amp, at least 2 amps on the 12 volt rail. And 1 to 2 amps on the 5 volt rail. Yeah, double the RAM, double the fun, Jack. You are right. It should be enough RAM to run SpinRite, though. Because it only needed 196 kilobytes more memory. Jack says it's pretty depressing that a 4-year-old power supply is apparently dead. Yeah, it is. I'll just have to buy a Now, recommendations for an ATX power supply for my bench. It doesn't need to be 80 plus gold because it's for testing old stuff. I would say somewhere around 500 to 600 watts. Just so the 12 volt rail's got enough power to bench test old stuff. Maybe a little lower. And, yeah, and it does need to at least have some Molex power. It doesn't need to have Berg plugs. I'm not expecting any modern power supply to have a Berg power connector, but it does definitely need to have some Molex. So that I don't have to use all adapters. Stian's asking if I may hijack the chat. Or may hijack the chat audience for a second. Any reason I shouldn't put the dual 1.42 gigahertz CPU card in copper heatsink from a Firewire 800 into my mirror drive door G4 goal fastest possible native Mac OS 9 Mac. Stian says or Hardware Hacker says could also be double the fail. Oh, Stian says actually my modern Seasonic did come with Berg adapters. I was impressed. No, those are not scalar artifacts. That's ghosting from the CGA card. This CGA card's a clone of the IBM card, therefore it ghosts. So that is not scalar artifacts. Alright, press any key to proceed. Press any key to proceed. Please read the precautionary message above or press escape to return to DOS. Alright. Press J to continue. Alright, so let's see. Oh, that's not right. Neither of those are correct. Alright, Control P. Steven says, Spin right 5. They had some wild UI color choices. Jack says, is this like installing Windows XP where it's a series of random key presses to continue? I don't know. We'll let it do its tests. Press L to format. I guess the only thing about the mirror drive door G4 is, does it support a 1.67, or does it support the 167 megahertz frontside bus? Or is there a way to change the multiplier on the processor card? That would be my question. Well, you can't say that SpinRite isn't trying to be thorough for making sure your data's safe. Stian says, I thought they were smart about that by the G4 era. Well, I'm just saying, does the logic board support the front side bus? I don't remember what they... Alright, so begin SpinRite. Oh, SpinRite, no drive selected. Options. All right. SpinRite apparently requires the drive to be partitioned. Okay. Alright, well, alright, so we will not be running SpinRite because the drive is not partitioned. Alright, I will give... Alright, I will give the low-level format one more try. Hi, RetroTech Chris, welcome. Alright, current drive is C. Looks good. Alright, return for current. Are you dynamically configuring? Yes. Alright, I'm going to try 306. What's the chance I have the wrong parameters for this drive? Let me double check here. IBM. All right. All right. I'm looking up a manual here real quick. All right, is there a model number on this drive anywhere? All right. I am going to double check I have the right parameters on this drive. I might have the wrong parameters. That I'm kind of starting to wonder that. This is the problem with potential eBay regrets. The seller called this a WD25 drive, although... Oh, there it is. WD25. All right. All right. Interesting. Okay. So, according to -0°, it is... Yeah. 306, 817. So 306, 8, 17 is the number of sectors, but that's a given for MFM. Um, $28. 11 and 5. Not virtually configuring the drive. All right. Jack says, I'm glad that the help clarifies that CCB option is one hex digit between 0 and 7. Yeah, I think it's a mechanical keyboard. Mega says the keyboard sounds nice. It's just some kind of generic keyboard. Oh. Mm-hmm. All right. While I wait for this to low-level format, I'm doing a little more searching here. Hmm. All right. So we do not want to format bad tracks because there's no bad track list on this drive. All right. We will restart. Jack says, this is just like trying to get stuff to work back in the day, except we didn't have the internet then. And now, part of the internet's been, well, some of the information has just been lost to time on the internet. Alright. Escape. Function 3. And... F-disk. Were we having power supply issues? Yeah, that cursor sure is blinking. You are right there. Got bomb. Socket wrench. Hi, socket wrench. Anxious blinking throughout. Yes. Jack says DOS was loading over 64K of stuff into RAM. Oh, for the record, the motherboard has 256K of RAM on it. The memory card has another 256K of RAM on it. The low-level format program in the ROM of the card should require 0 RAM. Or maybe a few bytes. It probably requires the 0 page to be there. I think all the data you enter on the command line, I mean, okay, it probably puts it somewhere in the stack, which I think's in the first K of RAM. Yeah, it probably needs some stack space, but we actually F-disked. I wonder if that power supply was going bad and the drive wasn't getting enough power or something. Or maybe it just took a couple tries to low-level format the drive because freeing up stuck stuff? I don't know. But we are formatting. We are formatting. We have formatted 5 whole megabytes. Approximately. We have formatted approximately 10 whole megabytes. Thomas Armstrong says power is back on. Jack says 20 megabytes was so large back in the 80s. Harder Hacker says, ah. How big's the drive? It's 20 megabyte drive. We have formatted approximately 15 whole megabytes. Alright, I will do the proper readout once we formatted the whole drive, because I know Count Von Count would have... well, first of all, wouldn't use the word approximately, but, well, this is hard drive math we're talking about, not Sesame Street math. We have formatted approximately 20 little megabytes. Cue thunder and lightning and bats. Hey, we may not have any bad sectors. Alright, I said we were going to do it. Sucker Wrench says, that's as much as 3 profiles, and that's terrible. Yeah, Thomas, it only took us 3 tries to low-level format it. My ATX power supply died after the second attempt when I powered it down to put a RAM card in so that I could try to run SpinRite. Actually, you know, we could run SpinRite now. Stian says 3 tries isn't at all bad for one of these. I was kind of hoping to get to more than one drive, but Sadmax says hopefully SpinRite doesn't kill anything. Jack says that ATX power supply crumbled under the power demands of the MFM drive. I am almost tempted here. All right, I'm gonna do it. I want to see SpinRite run on the drive just so I can have an idea of what it actually does. Because, yes, Jack says, yay, SpinRite for the sake of nostalgia. I mean, I've only seen Adrian run it on some of his videos. I've never run it for myself. Alright, for the record, that's CGA Snow. That's not scalar static. Stian says to Jack that ATX power supply lacked warrior spirit. It was not honorable. Worf, probably. Yeah, it lacked any sense of quality caps. Alright, so it'll take it a minute or two to run its RAM system test. So we'll run SpinRite on this drive. That way I'll get an idea of what it can do. Interrupt system noise test. Harder Hacker says, it brought shame to the House of Morgan. Like, interrupt jitter. I don't know what the interrupt system noise test does. I really don't. Yes, the House of Morgan is going to have to order a new ATX power supply. Actually, more than one, because I need a new power supply for a different computer. But it's getting a... I'm going to order a Seasonic for it, because it's... it's a computer I do actual work on. So it's going to get a Seasonic 80 plus gold rated power supply. For my bench, I don't need a Seasonic unless Seasonic wants to sponsor it. I'll maybe go for something like a Corsair or... Oh, well, here we go. It did... I don't think SpinRite complained about the drive. There we go. Select drive partitions for SpinRite. Selected C. All right. Excellent. SpinRite is about to begin operations at level 4. Locate surface defects. All right. All right. That's fine. Interesting. I have no idea what these numbers mean. I see times, I see angles. Oh, unless those are like the angle of the disc where the sector is. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. That's the angle on the disc where the sector is. That's what those angles were. Yeah, the physical intersector angle. Interesting. It's doing some sort of seek on the drive. Checking for physical head sharing, spiral format problems, adjacent head interference, adjacent cylinder interference, defective sector flagging capability, and various other behavioral anomalies. Yes, this is spin right. Ah, there we go. Sure. I'm curious. Three to one probably is a good one for this drive. Ooh, interesting. I think what that meant is it took 17 revolutions at an interleave of 1 to 1, 18 revolutions at an interleave of 2 to 1, only 3 revolutions at 3 to 1 to read the track. There we go. So 3 to 1 is optimal. I think the old Zebtech or whatever the original MFM controller for the XT was, it had to use an interleave of 5 to 1. It was that poor of a performer. This is a Western Digital WDXT Gen MFM controller card, and it's apparently capable of 3 to 1 interleave on the XT. Same computer could do 3 to 1 interleave, and the computer's no faster. That tells you how good of a card it is. Yeah, I think a lot of people back then, they'd buy an upgraded controller card like that Western Digital, even with the same drive, and they would get increased performance. So what this is saying is, I think it's actually doing a low-level format of a cylinder after probably having cached what's in it. And then it's seeing probably how long it takes to read the cylinder, or the sectors. And that's the number of revolutions it took to read the whole cylinder. Or, the whole track. Whatever I'm trying to say. And the lowest number of revolutions is the best interleave for the computer. Oh, this drive sounds fantastic. I think I'm gonna have to move the microphone closer to it. Oh no, we're We're not going to change the interleave at all. We'll just hit enter right there. Alright, we'll run benchmarks. Oh, to answer your question, Thomas, this is a 5160 board. We'll pull the 5150 out if we get to the third hard drive. Which might not be tonight. Okay, I think now it's just going to literally step through the drive, so I don't think there'll be much to hear, so I will move the microphone back, and this might take it just a little bit to run. Stan says, DeepSeek brought up a potential issue for my G4 build. It says the 1.42 gigahertz dual processor card was paired with a 450 watt power supply, and my 360 watt power supply may be inadequate. That's okay that you're working your own project, Stian. I mean, it might still work, but because you'll have to remember, Apple did size those power supplies, assuming you could have 4 hard drives installed. But it still might be a bit tight, because that's a 90 watt larger power supply, and I don't think hard drives necessarily account for all 90 watts. Yeah, that is a pretty cool animation. And again, for anyone, that's CGA static. And given how... it doesn't surprise me that this program's causing a lot of static on the CGA card. So, yep, I apologize for the flickering, but that's just the nature of IBM CGA card and the exact clones of it. Later cards fixed the snow issue. Oh, this might take 56 minutes to run. I don't know that that's necessarily a correct time. Yeah, the static's normal. Well, we'll let this run because this is the part of the process where we will learn if this drive, how good this drive is, because it's doing a surface scan. Also, I'm thinking that this might take less time than it's estimating, because it's done 5% in 3 minutes. Well, actually scaling that up, maybe that is correct. Oh, Stian's asking, I wonder how much more power the 1.42 gigahertz card draws. It's doubled the number of CPUs to my 1.25 gigahertz is a single CPU card. Oh. Yeah, I'd have to go upstairs to look, but I have a dual 1.25 gigahertz. I don't know what power supply Apple put in it. I do know the 1.42 gigahertz processors were technically overclocked. Thomas says Apple power supply on the G3, G4 were very inefficient. Yeah. Actually, the drive is making cool sounds, so I'll move the microphone back so you all can have the spin rate ASMR. If I see anything that is worth noting, or if anything in the chat comes in, I'll still interact with the chat, but I'm going to at least move the microphone to where you can hear the drive sounds, because it's kind of rhythmic. In fact, the sounds are so cool that I might just have to do a video of running SpinRite, mic up the hard drive, and like that is the noise. It is a mic'd up hard drive. Let me know if you think that would be cool. Yeah, SpinRite ASMR. Stan says, not a bad idea. Harder Hacker says, do it. Well, maybe while I'm buying lumber for my workbench, I'll get a little extra lumber so I can build a box for miking up things for doing ASMR. One bit says it would be cool. Oh, hi Tamia, welcome. Is that Mario? Yep, I wore my Mario shirt today. It's just a red polo shirt, but yeah. It's me, Mario! Mega says, oh, I didn't know you made videos. I thought you just streamed. I try to make videos. My backlog is so clogged. I'm probably just going to, like, forget about some of the videos that are clogging up the pipeline and just make something new. I'm working on a video on the 486 that I got the other day. Hardware Hacker says, it's a me, Justin D. Morganio. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's been a while since I've released a video. Alright, while SpinRite runs, I'm gonna go upstairs and get a drink of water. I'll just leave the microphone here by the hard drive so you can listen to the sounds. And while I'm upstairs, I'll go look in my mirror drive door dual processor 1.25 gigahertz. And that way I can let Stian know what size power supply Apple shipped in that one. Because I can actually put eyes on the power supply rating. So I'll be back downstairs in a few minutes. Just enjoy the ASMR of SpinRite doing a surface scan. All right. So, Stian, I just checked my FireWire 800, 1.42 or 1.25 gigahertz dual processor. Apple shipped it with a 360 watt AC bell. I'm not sure the 1.42 gigahertz accounts for an extra 90 watts power drawn by the processors. That would be a lot of extra power for that amount of clock speed. Yeah, I'm thinking you may have better luck than your web query may have led you to believe. However, you might run into problems if you load it up with full spinning hard drives. That may be why Apple shipped that one with a 450 watt in the 1.42 gigahertz. But yeah, I have a feeling with a hard drive, you probably will get away with it. Oh yeah, Jack says, I like that the status window moves around the screen to prevent burn-in. I get the feeling that the authors will spin right indiscriminately through every idea they could think of in. Stian's gonna give it a shot. Alright, let us know how it works. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh, cool. Alright, let me... I ordered PCBs this weekend, and apparently my production file is ready for review, so let me go review that real quick. Alright. Confirm the production files. Jesse says, I did a couple 3D prints through PCBWay and JLC PCB. I made a mistake on the first one. The first order is just this 18mm long spacer. Facepalm. Well, it took me 2 tries to order PCBs this weekend because the first time I uploaded Gerber's, the drill files was missing. Luckily, the fabrication house I picked caught the error, and because I did not replace the Gerber files overnight while I was asleep, they canceled the order, so I had to place it a second time after realizing why the drill files were missing. Shame on KiCad for not generating the drill files with the rest of the Gerbers. That's a separate step you have to do. Also, the PCBs were more expensive than I was expecting, but it's actually my fault more than anything as to why they cost more. I'll just say when generating quotes at both of the PCB production houses, they don't all automatically set the board settings on the quote tool for all of the properties of the board file that might cost extra. We'll just say that when I did the rough estimates of how much the project was going to cost, I didn't realize that JLC PCB's quote tool doesn't always catch the minimum drill size of a board. The PCBs I sent out for manufacturing have a minimum drill size of 0.2mm, which costs extra because that's a really small drill hole. And that, more so than other factors, is why the boards cost. The PCBs are going to cost me about $5 each when all is said and done. I'll do a video on building them because it'll be fun. Maybe. I hope. We'll just say that given how much the PCBs cost, I opted not to buy a stencil. As much as I'm going to try to reflow the components, so that's going to be fun. And Thomas Armstrong says those small drill bits break easy. Yeah. Well, not only do they charge extra for the small drill file, or small drill hole, but they also then charge you for 4-wire Kelvin testing because you're using a small drill hole. Although maybe that was also because it's a 4-layer board with a small drill hole. Yeah, the boards I ordered are 4-layer boards with a 0.2mm drill hole. Thank goodness I didn't need to buy ENIG plating, or that I was totally happy with green solder mask, because those are going to cost extra too. Jesse says, I have no idea if my idea will even work. Well, I hope it works. But yeah, I ordered fewer PCBs than I was going to because I messed up when I was getting initial quotes. Because I was going to build a bunch of these boards. Although there's one other problem that also is not the PCB manufacturer's fault. I ordered memory chips, and the eBay seller I bought the memory chips from had fewer of them than the listing said, and I accepted a partial refund to make up for the actual number they had, so I already had fewer memory chips to start with. I messed up on my initial ballpark estimates because I didn't catch the drill hole size when I did my initial estimates, so yeah, the project is not going as smoothly as I'd hoped. John says, as long as it's not on a purple PCB. No, I did not get purple PCBs. I got green. Hi, John. Welcome. Also, because neither PCB house sponsor me, I'm not going to mention which one I used to order. But you can, if you listen closely, you can probably figure out which one I ordered from based on the mistake I made when initially quoting, and you'll know which one I ordered from. Yeah, basically when I divide the total cost of the order out across the number of PCBs I ordered, they're like $5 a piece. Thomas Armstrong says they use PCBWay last, JLC PCB first, and Osh Park second. Yeah, I don't know why that hasn't updated, but although the further in this gets, the longer it's going to take for it to do its scan. I did get a quote from Osh Park. There were two problems with Osh Park. The first one was the PCBs were going to be about $16 a piece. Which isn't necessarily a problem, depending on what you're doing. For this particular PCB, that would have been about $16 a piece. The real big problem was their PCB is 1.6 millimeters, and I needed 1.2 millimeters. The extra 0.4 millimeters would have been a deal breaker, so I couldn't use Osh Park this time. Osh Park is great for like really small PCBs. Because they charge $5 a square inch for 3 2-layer boards and $10 a square inch for 3 4-layer boards. For really small files, if you're in the US, they can be if you just need 3, they can be a really cheap way to get 3 boards fairly quickly. Yeah, Mega says Osh Park is cheap if your PCBs are like extremely small. Yeah, Osh Park is really great for really small PCBs. Jack says, I need to have some PCBs made. I started the process and then realized all the decisions I have to make. Yeah, unfortunately for what I'm going to build, I needed 1.2 millimeter PCBs so that they fit in the slot. Ooh, you know, it's something that goes in a slot now. And it has memory chips on it. What could it be? John's asking, what are you low leveling? ST225? Nope, it is an IBM WD25. Which is a 20 megabyte hard drive for the XT, which is why I picked an XT 5160 motherboard to format it in. And right now we're just doing a surface scan to see if the drive's actually good. Thomas says, I ordered some PCB 16 inch by 5 inch. Yeah, the boards I ordered weren't that large, but they were 4-layer boards with small drill holes, which is what added to the cost. Ah, Ryan Labs, welcome. Ryan Labs says a few old 40 megabyte drives. Yeah, I have this this 20 megabyte drive, and then the next drive I want to try to low-level format, or at least start, is a 70, I think it's a 72 megabyte drive. And for it, I will probably just keep the XT out, and we'll low-level format it in the XT. I don't think there's any benefit to at least starting the process on anything else. I don't have enough room on my bench for 2 systems. I do need to have 2 systems going. I don't have enough room on my bench for a second system. Yeah, this full height... Oh, this WD-25 works. We're doing a surface scan, but I think it's working. I don't... Well, I don't really have room to stack them. I don't have anything to stack them on. I need a bigger workbench, which I'm working on that problem. Also, the fact that one of my power supplies failed is kind of hampering my short-term ability to... John says an ST402 rebadge, gotcha. Well, I mean, I couldn't tell it was an ST402 rebadge because it's got IBM labels all over it. Thomas says, nice. If you get a chance, could you measure the full height cover? Yeah, I can when I get a chance. But yeah, this drive is going to go in one of my XTs. Thomas needs to print one for 5161 case for an IDE CD bracket. Alright, well I can... Well, I can't move the drive while it's running. I'll measure the faceplate. When I don't have it spinning. Because I'd have to move the drive to measure it. Yeah, I want to make sure that... Yeah, I want to make sure the drive's good. And part of the problem why I don't have room on my bench at the moment for a second PC to format another drive in parallel is because I have Max setting to my side because of the 2SI. Although, to be fair, one of them isn't an LC475, but... Well, it's sitting there because I was working on 2SIs. John says if it's going in an XT, you probably want a 5-to-1 interleave, something like that. Yeah, the Harder Hacker says the interval between chunks has gotten... between clunks has gotten longer. Yeah, it has. Oh, John, SpinRite has confirmed a 3-to-1 interleave. I'm not using the IBM controller card. I'm using a Western Digital controller card, which can do a 3-to-1 interleave, and that's its optimal interleave for the XT. Thomas says, oh, Bruce was doing a 2SI power supply rebuild board. Yeah, I would like to get one of those boards, but they weren't ready when I needed to build a 2SI power supply, so hopefully the boards will be available that I can do one soon. But that's not my biggest problem with the 2SI. My biggest problem is the logic boards. A rebuilt power supply is worthless without a working power supply to put it on. Also, update on my LC475. The Tinker Different Discord thinks I need to reflow the ASIC chip and check for broken traces. Although, granted, that's a shot in the dark. I don't know that there's schematics for the board to... That could be troublesome. I don't know if there's schematics for the board out there. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Yeah, we might just have to interrupt this and I run it later, but... Oh, this machine is the XT, and spin rate confirmed a 3-to-1 interleave in this computer. The reason why the original IBM controller card needed a 5-to-1 interleave, it was not a very good controller card. Stian says, longer seek times tend to indicate you're approaching the outside of the disk. Should be getting closer. It seems like for each track, it's like seeking back to the, like, track 0 and then going to the track it wants to scan. Oh, there we go. Let's take a look at some of the other screens. Thomas says this so reminds me of the 1990s. Alright, let's see what else we got. I don't think there's anything in the log. Surface analysis monitor? one's not active. Yeah, we'll watch this for a little while. So we have 306 cylinders and 8 heads. I do not know why it seems like it's seeking between heads on the same cylinder. Must have to do with whatever a maintenance read is, as opposed to a pattern read. John says the older spin rate version should have clued me in that you were on an 8088. 3 to 1 it is then. Yep. You know, I'm almost tempted to say that this drive is probably good and will I will Alright, we're going to install DOS, and I'll run spin right to completion at some point, because I was at least wanting to maybe get one low-level format attempt in on a second drive, but I did say we were going to install DOS on this drive so that I can boot into At least the drive is bootable. So we'll do that real quick, and then I'll go grab the second drive. Because I got the controller card I'll be using for it right here. In fact, actually, I think this card I'm using now could work with that other drive, but... No, it's DOS. I'm just installing DOS 4. It's the one I have here. I don't have DOS 4 installed on anything. It's probably a version I'll regret, but... Alright, so let's see here... It's DOS 4.01. Only problem is I don't have a blank diskette image for 720k disk, so I'm hoping it copies all files and... Well, I just picked another disk image. I may regret which one I picked, but let's see here. Yeah, DOS 4 should... Why in the world is it so keen on creating a disk? I don't know. We want to install this on a hard drive. We're not booting from a floppy DOS. If I didn't know better, I would think it's making a disk copy. Oh, it is totally making a disk copy. I'm glad I've added the extra RAM into this computer so that this goes smoothly. Alright, well, if it asks me for the operating disk, I'll have to copy it to the image. Oh. Oh well. Okay, I think it's copying files to the hard drive now. Oh, and hi, Jean-Francois Paré. Yeah, I should have known it was going to ask for the operating disk. Can you guess which disk I used for the select copy disk? All right, let me, by magic of their disk images, let me put another copy of the operating disk image on this. And yes, I did rename the operating disk I let it copy to select copy, just in case that it asks me for it again, because I have a feeling it will. I'm seeing right through this install. All right. And luckily, the XT is none the wiser. There we go. Yeah, I picked DOS 4.01 because it shipped. It's the earliest version that shipped on 720K discs, which an XT with the right BIOS version can boot. It just can't format them. And that was just make things easier on me, using 720K disk images instead of 360K disk images. It was also because I thought it'd be more likely that the utilities I needed to run the format command might be on the same boot disk, but no. Debug, of course, was on another disk. And it wants the shell disk. Because, of course, I decided I want a DOS shell. It can kind of be handy to have. It might be the best part of MS-DOS 4.01. Besides, I have 20 little megabytes. Thunderclap. Alright, so let me make a tape label for this hard drive. So we got MS-DOS 4.01 Gen controller. Need to spin right to confirm 0 bad sectors. There we go. Refer to the MS-DOS user's guide. Remove all diskettes. And Control-Alt-Delete. Alright. Have I ever watched the censored version of the Counting Song by The Count? It's wicked funny. I'll have to watch that one. Oh, we are booting DOS from the hard drive, I believe. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, look at that. We got... It's the DOS shell. Here we go. MS-DOS version 4.01. Does it have the mim command? Alright, it's got mim. You can post the link, Hardware Hacker. There we go. That's great. We've got a hard drive. And I think it might just be reliable. Alright, so I'm going to go grab another hard drive. We'll definitely not have time to spin write it, but maybe we can get it to low-level format. Alright, I gotta unplug the power connector. There we go. Alright, I got a little tape label for the hard drive, so I remember basically what I've done to it, which controller card it's configured for, and what I need to do. It's got a smiley face on it, so... Alright, so let's do this. Because I am going to... Alright, there we go. Alright, so there we go. Our 20 megabyte IBM hard drive. Oh, Thomas Armstrong wanted me to measure the faceplate. Let me grab that real quick. It is... Looks like 148 millimeters wide. By 85 millimeters high. It's 85 to 86 millimeters high. That's the dimensions of the faceplate. Hi, Dave. Welcome. Oh, sorry I missed your stream yesterday, Dave. I got home later yesterday afternoon than I thought I would. All right. All right, so this next drive, I think, is a ST4086 drive. Or it would be if it was a Seagate. However, it is branded Control Data Corporation. So this, I believe, means that it is going to predate Seagate's acquisition of CDC. All right, so I'm using a... All right. I know, I'll have to replay the scary eBay unboxing. Alright, so there we go. I've got the manual for this controller card. It is a Western Digital 1002S-WX2 Winchester disc controller from Western Digital. I think it has the ROM at the exact same address as the other one. So it should be... I think it should have the same exact method to call the ROM. And then the other thing I need are the parameters for the 94155-86. That's the part number of this drive. Since it is a Control Data Corporation drive, I'm not going to assume the Seagate part number written on this drive is correct. I mean, I would think it would be. But, well, stranger things have happened. Alright, we got power. I got, Alright, let's see here. This is a RIN 2 drive. 925 cylinders, 9 heads, 17 tracks. Pre-compensations 128. Alright. Alright. 3, 2, 1. No, it's full height. We have liftoff of the RIN 2 hard drive. Go for throttle up. And I feel like I'm going to have to yell over this thing. Oh, that's not quite that loud. It appears to be spinning down, though. Oh, hardware hacker used the Extron RGB to HDMI on Dave's stream. Cool. All right, we're going to have to power cycle here because we have a $4.99 super chat from hardware hacker. The Extron RGB HDMI 300A worked great on Dave's stream. Awesome. Oh, I think DOS is locked up because the hard drive spun down. All right. So I'm going to wait like 20 seconds and then we'll power up again. That's probably fine. The hard drive spun down. Thomas Armstrong says the drive's grumpy, head sticking. Well, it's either the heads are sticking or it's not coming up to speed, and I don't know which is which. All right. I think we had this problem when I first got this drive. So we may not be formatting this drive tonight. All right. Let's power off. Let me see if I can... Let me see if I can not completely smash the faceplate. I'm looking to see if I can see the... Okay, I do not see the... Yeah, I do not see a stepper motor for the heads. Hardware Hacker says, I used the scaler with an SC30 using the GS30 grayscale card from Zigzag Joe. Nice. Yeah, we may have to pop this drive open. Yeah, it's spinning down again. I'm not hearing the... Steven says Zigzag Joe is an absolute hardware wizard. Well, it's the only way we're going to know if it really is a sticky head, so... Alright, I guess I'll... prepare to void the warranty. Alright. Alright. Unfortunately, I don't want to move the XT. So I will get as much of this on camera as I can. Oh wow, I found the bit first try to get the top cover off. I'm hoping that all I gotta do is just remove the 6 screws on the top, and hopefully that's enough to open the drive up. I am going to unfortunately void my warranty. So I guess if someone wants to give Control Data Corporation a call to tattle on me, that's totally fine. Oh, I guess it's Magnetic Peripherals Incorporated, a Control Data company. You can tattle all you want. Well, I just broke the sticker. Maybe I should also threaten this drive with yeeting it to the sun if it doesn't cooperate. I don't know if that might help it or not. Alright, so I have unscrewed the 6 screws on the top. I'm now going to see if I can find a spudger to gently lift it up, because there's probably an adhesive or seal, and I want to try to lift it up with as cleanly as possible, in case it's like, I don't want to get flakes of anything on the drive. Granted, remember, we're just having fun with these drives, so I'm not going to be storing important documents on it. Oh, and I'm going to need something a little bigger to pry the top off with. So, yeah, if I were using this drive for important data, then, well, that would just be silly, because this is a 35 to 40 plus year old drive. Alright, I have the cover off. Unfortunately, I think the drive has... Alright, the good news is I confirmed that my suspicion of this drive actually having 5 platters because of 9 heads, and then the 10th platter is going to be the probably a servo track, potentially. But I'm seeing a scratch on the top platter. And there's also like the it looks different there. But anyways, I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna try to move this um, forward as much as I can, so that you can see as much of the spinning as I can let you see. All right. All right. And 3, 2, 1. That is a little intimidating. Oh yeah, something's vibrating. And actually, I noticed it started to spin down as soon as the 1701 error popped up. I'm going to see if I can move the head assembly. Because at this point, I don't think I got much to lose. Alright. So I'm going to very carefully... Thomas Armstrong says, Rust wasn't reliable when it was new. Hardware Hacker says, hit it with a hammer. Alright, so I'm going to see if the head assembly... will move it all. It probably means I gotta move the stopper. Okay. I was able to move the heads. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the... Oh. Oh wow, it's already spinning down. Although, the blinking pattern might be different. I think this is a voice coil drive. Hey, it's spinning back up this time. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, we still have rotation. Ah, now the drive threw an error. Maybe I should put the cover back on it. Alright, what I'm going to do to put the cover back on it is I will let the drive spin up to throw any dust off of it, and then I will gently place the cover back on. Well, it looked like it started to seek. And the drive threw an error. Alright, maybe we're not out of the woods just yet. I'm wondering if... So it's now spinning up. And it moves the heads. And it spins down. Like maybe it's trying to calibrate the speed? Alright, and it spun down this time. Mega says, I wonder if seeking causes a short or the head can't move. Well, the head is moving. The head is not stuck. Manually moving it might be bad, but I did manually move it. Carefully. That was weird. I mean, I think one of the heads might be dragging. I hear something that sounds jingly. Although it does seem to be seeking more. Of course, I guess there is one other possibility. Alright, let's try it one or two more times. And if it doesn't cooperate with this controller card. I know the cables are good. These are the same cables I was using with the first drive. If it doesn't, like, free up in another try or two, Because now it's like, ooh, there is some serious airflow coming off this drive. Mega says, probably pulling too much current. I don't know if it is. The MOSFETs on the back of the drive don't feel too hot. I'm actually wondering if the servo track isn't toast. Or if there isn't a head that's crashed. Alright, let's give it one more try. And then if this doesn't work, I'm going to try a different controller card. Well, Thomas, it's a voice coil. And there is definitely a jingling that's going on. But I'll tell you this drive puts off an impressive amount of air. This kind of tells me... I don't know if the head should move a lot faster than that. I've never seen this drive's heads move. Alright, so I am going to... Oh, you know, I'm going to try something wild and crazy here. I just realized I might have had the cables plugged into the wrong ports. Oh, that's right. I have the instructions open. Let me double check. Actually, I'll just power it up while I read. Because I just realized some of these cards, the port for drive 0 is not the one that you would first expect. Wait a minute. I might have had the data... oh, no, there we go. It's spinning down. Alright, I also conveniently found the page in the instructions that says which port to use. It says J2, drive 0 to J2, and drive 1 to J3. Oh, I had them right. Okay. Now, I don't know if this controller card's good or not. So, in the off chance that that controller card has a fault, I'm going to try the one that we used for the first drive. I don't know that it supports 9 heads, but I also know what time it is, so it's not like we'd have time to do much anyways. But I know this controller card works. So, in the chance that it's the controller card and not the drive, but it's probably the drive. There. Yep, I think this drive is no good. Yes, it would appear as if this drive is an eBay regret. Its regret rating is too bad. It's probably going to have to be a doorstop now. Or a paperweight for a very windy day. Because I'm thinking the head probably should move faster than it is, which tells me that there's probably some fault with it. Tested working when new. I think the seller of this drive told me it was untested, and for a drive like this, I would be more inclined to believe that than if they'd told me that an IDE drive was not tested. Alright, so well, alright. Drives that I think that have a shot will get a tape label, but this one, unfortunately, is, well, actually, maybe I will use a tape label. I don't think there's much I can do for this one. Because it's a voice coil. So I don't think there's a... I didn't see an end stop for me to remove and replace with something. And I really don't know that voice coils have lubrication, because I think the... Anyways, I think it's probably a goner. Even though it's not a conner, I think it's a goner. Alright, so spin up, then down. It's flashing an error code. Maybe if I can... I don't know what the error code is. If I can find the manual for one of these drives, then maybe I might have an idea of how to count the flashes. If there is a code. Heads seem slow. Rattling question mark, because I sure thought there was a rattling sound. Anyways, I put the screws back in the lid. I will hold on to this drive in case I figure something out. But anyways, I think that's... You know, there's like maybe... Yeah, I think that's probably about... Alright, it's not quite midnight yet. I would at least like to see if one more... Oh, wait a minute. Is that... Ah. Could that be the problem? I just realized on the back of this drive, there's this connector here. And it's not pushed in all the way. Alright, I guess I should give this drive one more try. I was about to say I was going to go grab another drive and at least give it a power-up test, but, well, that connector wasn't pushed in all the time. Harder Hacker says, one little working drive. Thunderclap. And one big unworking hard drive. ESD discharge. I doubt it was that little connector. But it could have been. No, there it's spinning down. No, there's a jumper on the back of this drive. Alright. Let me double check that. Oh, I think it's got drive select 2. Alright, let's try one more thing. Since I just realized there were jumpers on the drive. Drive select 2 could be wrong for PC. It's also possible it needs the jumper terminator that's missing, but that I wouldn't be able to just simply conjure up. No. Oh. Alright, so that was the rogue drive select. Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a terminating resistor pack that might be missing, but that might not be what that is. Drive select, terminator, control cable, data cable. Oh. I don't know. All right. Anyways, yeah, it looks like this drive is not good. So, yep. And I don't see any more information on this drive. So, the one page that I have is all that I have. And, anyways, so we got one drive, low level formatted and working, installed DOS on it. So it'll go in an XT. And then we have this big clunker, and it spins up and spins down and blinks error codes. And, well, that meets my definition of it's dead gem. So, tonight we have a 50% success rate. And that means I have two more of these old hard drives to low-level format, or attempt thereof. I have I think it's an 80 megabyte hard drive that was in the IBM PC. It's on a hard card, or no, it's a 40 megabyte. So I think it's a 40 megabyte hard card, not 80, 40. Because I think it's the same size as the hard drive that was in my SC30. Because I think it's the same mini scribe mechanism, but MFM and not SCSI. But I think it's the same mechanism. So anyways, yeah, it's a 40 megabyte drive that was in the PC. And then I've got a 30... I want to say it's like somewhere around a 33 megabyte drive. I think it's an RLL drive. So it's a little larger than if it was an MFM version of the drive, I think it's 20 megabytes. So I think RLL, it's going to be 30 megabytes or something like that. A little more space. Anyways, I've got that. So we'll have to circle around to those next time I look at hard drives, which maybe I might do that next Monday. Try to get the other two formatted, because that'd be nice to know if they're good or not. So anyways, don't forget to smash that like button if you like it when I try to spin Rust and low-level format Rust and do other fun stuff with Rust. The ferromagnetic type, not the new programming language. Yeah, Hardware Hacker says the drive is cooked. Yep. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Thursday, we'll be back at the 2SI, where I'm going to start by removing those bodge wires I put on the last board, because I've been thinking about it, and I think I was wrong. I don't know that those bodges should have gone on the board. But I think we may try looking at one of the other boards to see if we learn anything. Yeah, I'm starting to get tired, so... Anyways, yeah, so we'll look at the 2SIs on Thursday. I'll get that stream scheduled tomorrow. And then, yeah, I think next Monday we may try formatting the other two drives. And I think for the hard card, I'll maybe pull the IBM PC board out so we can format it on the board. Although, honestly, PC, XT, they're running at the same clock speed. I don't think there's anything about a PC that would make it run slower than an XT. I think speed-wise they're going to run the same speed. So maybe I could just use the XT board. Anyways, for the RLL drive, I might get fancy, or maybe we'll just use the XT board. Anyways, yeah, it was a fun stream. 50% success rate. I am really happy that IBM Drive formatted, even though it took 3 tries. Lost a power supply in the process, but I have a working drive. So, yay. It is possible to buy one of those old MFM clunkers on eBay and low-level format it. And in fact, it kind of looks like there may not be any bad sectors on the drive, so that's a bonus. Although technically we could say this REN 2 drive has 100% bad sectors. Ha ha. Anyways, so I hope to see you here next time. Anyways, I'm getting tired, so it's time for me to end the stream so I can watch this video that Hardware Hacker sent and then go to bed so I can get to work tomorrow. So I hope to see you all here next time. So thanks for hanging out in the chat, being cool, the coffee tips, and the super chats. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.